Let's bring in Michael Yee from Jefferies and Jared Holtz from Oppenheimer to talk about, I guess, this new setup. Jared, maybe you can sort of start here. The market's quickly rushing to not just the biotech makers, but some of the lab testing companies and things like that to essentially build in expectations that this will be another phase of the pandemic, that in fact there's going to be another pivot in terms of resources of the industry and demand for these products. Does that make sense right now?
Mike, hey, how's it going? It does. It makes sense. I think the market's obviously been trading, on headlines predominantly, and we get one today that's, obviously beneficial for the lab companies, for the testing companies. So I think the action today is very reflective of what we've seen so many times before this year, where investors are reacting, mainly to the headlines that are coming across, and a lot of the, more detail-oriented work as far as it impacts selective stocks and subsectors is being done subsequently. So I think the reactions today are logical. We'll see what happens. We still don't have that much information on a relative basis about this new variant. There aren't that many cases globally. It is regionalized, but again, it's reason for concern. So the vaccines are up, and the testing and some of the diagnostic names as well.
Michael, as you try to filter in this new information into the companies that you analyze, does it make sense to actually change your assumptions about exactly what demand is going to look like, what areas of development they're going to be looking toward? Or has the industry essentially always been operating on the assumption that this is an ongoing situation where variants will present new challenges?
Hey, it's great to be here. I would say point number one, the biggest debate, on stocks like Moderna has been whether or not there's going to be demand for boosters this year and next year and in the following years. I think these are the types of days where people are reminded, look, I think COVID is still around. I do think cases are going to go up, and I do think the motivation to get boosters is going to turn up for the short term. So, look, I think it's a big focus on the vaccine stocks. Like you said, they have been beaten down hard, and I do expect some of the vaccine stocks and other antibody stocks like Adagio to probably bounce here and probably sustain that for at least the next couple months.
Jared, what about the Merck results today showing efficacy in terms of the treatment against the Delta variant and COVID-19, but a lot less than the initial results, which were 50%, now 30%. What does that do for the stock and some of those high expectations built in?
Well, I think for the market, it's already assumed in a way that, looking at the Pfizer data on top of Merck, about a few weeks ago, that the Pfizer antiviral pill was superior or is superior to Merck. I think we're seeing a little bit of the follow through from that based on the data today, with Merck showing, suboptimal results versus what it gave us about a month ago. So I think the Merck move today is, reflective of investors continuing to gravitate more towards Pfizer. The vaccine news, I think, would be, maybe a marginal negative for Merck as boosters, come into play a little bit more. But I think this is, more of what we knew. It's just a little bit dampened for Merck relative to what we had seen about a month ago.
Michael, in terms of, your stocks, are there any that you feel as if are being, overlooked in terms of potential for either whether it's this variant or just in general in this environment when it seems like people essentially rush in and out of a handful of these names based on headlines?
It's a great question. Biotech has been a pretty crazy sector this year. You obviously have the vaccine stocks had a big move this year, but most of the other biotechs have had it tough this year, particularly as everyone rotated, on the post-COVID recovery. It's kind of interesting. You're a contrarian guy. You look at names like Gilead, Biogen, Vertex. These names have been hammered all year long. And I think as people get either defensive or turn the calendar to 2022, I think people could be bouncing back to some of those cheap, large-cap biotech names which have been hammered all year.
Good day to have you both. Thanks for joining us. Michael Yee, Jared Holtz.